Criptoconexión, tu puerta a la economía cripto.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the series focused on changing the narrative of the role of Latinos in the US, moving the conversation from us being consumers to being builders, entrepreneurs, and our strong contributions to this country. And I couldn't be more excited to have an incredible leader. We were talking about how we've known each other for many years. We've never actually worked too much together. So I'm excited to have Ana Valdez, who's the president and CEO of the Latino Donor Collaborative, here with us. Ana, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Monica. Thank you for having me. And again, I was so looking forward to working with you. And this is a perfect beginning of hopefully many more projects together.
Absolutely. So tell me a little bit about yourself, Ana, where you're from, a little bit about your background, and then we can talk about LDC.
Absolutely. So I am an immigrant. I came to this country actually as an older, already educated person. I went to school in Mexico City. Then I ended up going to Spain to do my master's in international relations, which was really great. And from then on, I think it was a series of events of, being at the right time, at the right place. I ended up working for the United Nations in Geneva for the Commission for Human Rights. And then I was lucky to begin, a job with, first as a volunteer, and then as a job, full-time job with the Clinton administration, both during the re-election campaign and then after he was re-elected. So that's how I ended up in the United States. I love having been here for almost 27 years. And I've, lived, gotten married, worked, founded businesses, and now lead this amazing think tank and nonprofit called the Latino Donor Collaborative.
So tell us about LDC, how it was created, what everything you do, because I really am blown away by the work you do. And we're having a conversation about something you guys have been working on for a long time. So tell us more.
Absolutely. Thank you, Monica. Yes. And so, the LDC was created by these brilliant business leaders that I could say probably were the top business leaders in the country at that time and remain being incredible leaders in 2010. It was put together by various leaders, but it was in the end chaired. The founding chairs are on the right, on the side of the Democratic Party, although we are completely nonprofit. We're a nonprofit, so we're non-political, we're non-partisan, but we wanted to be fair, right? Because I'll tell you the reason why this emerged. But on the side of politics, we one of the co-chairs and co-founders was Henry Cisneros. As you know, your state, Henry, is, a national figure, but coming from Texas. And then on the side of the business, Sol Trujillo, who, as you also know, has been the CEO of 3 of the 50 largest telecom companies in the world. He succeeded beyond the wildest dreams of any person. Forget about the Latino community. You and I have read books of, people that have, managed and taken to times of glory of one company. This guy has taken 3 different companies to incredible levels. And so we're lucky to work with him. Henry is now busy and he's almost semi-retired for what I know, but Sol Trujillo continues being our leader, and he's the chair of the Latino Donor Collaborative. We're a think tank. The organization actually was created when the SBC 70. Do you remember this horrible law, the first racial profiling law that emerged in Arizona in 2009 and 2010? And so these Latino leaders got together in Dana Point and said, what's wrong with this country? I mean, this is not our country. Our country is fabulous. There is no reason why anybody should racial profile anybody, specifically Latinos that are contributing so much. Why is it? And so they decided that data was the way to do it, right? Data was the way to show why Latinos should be actually nurtured and welcomed rather than targeted and stereotyped. And so that's how the story of this think tank began. Until today, we've done 47 different reports. We're really excited. Some of them are actually presented in front of the Federal Reserve, of the Joint Economic Council. All the resource allocators in this country use our data. When you talk about the Latino cohort, we are the place to go for that economic impact that Latinos are doing. And as you and I were talking about, media is another one very important area that we focused on. We also focused on entrepreneurship. We focused on workforce, on tech. We're coming up with a report about AI, Latinos in AI. We are coming up with a report on engineering with SHIP, the Society of Latino Engineers, because, we are changing the world of engineering, and nobody knows that, right? 22% of all the students of engineering in this country are Latinos. Think about that number. We're 19% of the population. 22% of those students are Latinos. So that's how we emerged. That's how we have evolved. We're really excited to be really the bearer of good news. Of course, there are bad news within our community, but our job is actually to bring up all these numbers that people don't know. One of the numbers in the census is that 15% of the population of Latinos in the United States live in poverty. And of course, that's horrible, and we need to reduce that number as much as we can. But nobody talks about the 85%, right? The 85% other that bought 900,000 homes during the pandemic because they had credit and because they had savings. The other 85% that found 62% of all the new businesses in this country. Where are we? I mean, it's this story. We are the story of success that is not being told. And that is to the detriment of every American. Americans should know about this.
Yeah, I think there's a saying that what leads when it comes to news. And so all these wonderful stories of Latinos who are really helping build the economy, are such important contributors to the economy in this country, are not shared. And that's why the work that you're doing at LDC is so important. And to have a think tank, right? It's at the end of the day, people can share anecdotes, and maybe people will be like, is that true? Not true. But when you give hard data, that's when people start paying attention. So what has been the response of companies? I know you guys meet with CEOs, with business leaders. What happens when you present this data?
So it's very interesting because the very smart CEOs, and I'm happy that this is going to be published because I want to say it publicly, the very smart CEOs eat up this information. They devoured it. They are waiting for this information to come out every year because they go, tell me please where the growth is. I need to grow. My job is to bring all these profits to the shareholders. My job is to grow with the populations that are growing. We have the fastest growing population. So they eat it up. They use it. They use it in the strategic plan. They use it to project. They use it to hire, right? And so that's the good news. The good news is that resource allocators in general are extremely welcoming. There are industries that still don't do it. So, for example, Hollywood, and you and I were talking about it, right? So going back to the positive examples, consumer product companies are extremely welcoming of this information. They actually were catering to the community way before we existed, right? Companies like, Target and Walmart, and of course, consumer products in general, like Coke and Pepsi and all that, banks, they are targeting our community because we are the growth. But Hollywood is not yet. And so we do a Latino report in Hollywood, and we have amazing partners, by the way, for this. We work in partnership with Nielsen. We work in partnership with McKinsey. We work in partnership with a lot of other organizations that actually are in the same quest, because we don't understand how come, the leaders in media are not getting this. And the problem is also that the companies, the media companies in Wall Street are doing really bad. So, when money is being left on the table because we're not represented, when our talent sells, and not only sells in the United States, sells globally. Just go to the music industry that has grown tremendously because we are in, right?
Yeah.
Just don't understand how come to your question of how do they take it, some of them are incredibly open. We're still struggling with Hollywood.
Well, and it's fascinating to me because I think two of the biggest, and this is streaming, right? Two of the biggest movies when it comes to streaming, I think, that launched recently were because they were led by Latinos. They were Latino movies, and it's like, how do you not see the compare? Well, and the other part, I saw a report that I think 75% of subscribers to Netflix, right?
The numbers
high percentage.
are
I'm
roof.
probably saying the number
Yes.
wrong, but just 75% of Hispanics are subscribers to Netflix. That's the way.
Exactly.
And it's like, how are we not seeing more of it? And I'm not pinpointing Netflix, but I'm thinking of the other streamers who are not investing because
they're worse.
They're
worse.
So it's really incomprehensible.
And exactly as you're saying, the top, of course. Well, you and I were talking about Barbie. The crazy thing is that Barbie has done amazing. Obviously, it's going to be the movie of the year, box office wise, right? It's not going to win an Oscar, but it's going to be the movie of the year because of the money that it's collecting. The hero is a Latina. Have you seen any advertising, any article, any coverage about her? No. The hero saving the world is actually a Latina within the movie, and it's like we're invisible at every level of the dialogue of Hollywood. That is the worst part. And as you will say, in the last month, two of the biggest movies were Fast and Furious. It was all about Latinos. It's the Fast and Furious movie that has had more of the saga of the 10. It's the one that has had the most of Latinos, right? The family, Rita Moreno is the grandma. I mean, it's all family, a lot of Spanish. And then the same weekend, and it also killed Spider-Man. Latino boy with a mom that is, Latina, the father that is African-American. I mean, and they both killed. The next weekend was Flash and the Raiders of the Lost Ark. Bombed. No Latinos on it. Bombed.
Right.
So, see the math? That's why we don't understand what is Hollywood thinking.
Yeah. But you talked about brands and even Hollywood, right? Because Hollywood, what they do invest in is marketing to us. But they don't invest in us to have it on screen. And I think many companies will advertise to us, but then don't invest in us. And they see us still as the 15%. They ignore the 85%, I think, many times. Exactly. How do you change that?
I do think, and then again, we are so based on data, and I'm a huge nerd. So what I'm going to say, I don't have data to support, but it's my experience and my anecdotal, examples around here. I live in Los Angeles. I work a lot in media. Exactly as you're saying, Monica. And again, I don't have the data, but it seems to me like the decision makers, the people that are casting, the people that are agents, the people that are green lighting movies, first of all, are not Latinos, because there is no casting agency that is incredible that is Latino. There is no agencies, the top agencies, CAA, the top of them, right? There are basically no Latino agents that can greenlight anything.
This is going to air during Hispanic Heritage Month, and I'm curious to see, do you get more outreach during that time? How do we help companies think about Latinos during Hispanic Heritage Month, but also during the 12 months of the year?
I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. So our job, we're lucky that, yes, we may have a little bit more work. We do a lot of speeches and a lot of keynotes and participate in panels, etc. So we do have a little bit more work in September and October, all through the year, the 365. But more importantly, we really constantly bring to the attention of decision makers that we're not a diversity issue. We're a business issue. Latinos are not, we're to the point, Latinos are not thriving with all this, BIPOC initiatives. We're actually lagging behind compared to all the other BIPOC segments. So we are not a city or a philanthropy, community. We are a business community. So when people think about Latinos, they should think business. How do they want to grow? How do they want to sell their product? How do they want to recruit them so that, they're bringing in authentic workforce, right? At all levels. How do we think about the people that are graduating, who's fastest, in enrollment in college? Fastest growing in enrollment in college. How do we think about, the Urban Institute saying that in the next 20 years, 82% of all the new homes are going to be bought by a Latino? How do banks think about this number?
Right.
And so I think that, as you were saying, this message should be said during the Hispanic Month, but it should be said all through the year. Right? It can't stop, when you see a community as charity or as diversity only, you're missing, specifically with us Latinos, all this growth opportunity that has nothing to do with color.
Right.
It has to do with, probably with one color, with green. How do we sell more, right?
And I think, to be fair, I think most diverse communities, it's the same thing. And that's why I think there's a shift in how companies are looking at their diversity initiatives, which unfortunately, they're not looking at the green, which is what they should be.
Can I tell you something? I'm going to say something controversial for you and for people, some people. No, all diversity is not the same.
Right.
And we need this 40% of the population that is not white needs to be segmented, because it's incredibly unfair for an African American to be assumed exactly the same as a Latino or exactly the same as an Asian. The three communities are different. And if we don't target, if you were working at a brand, in Procter & Gamble, they would never tell you, everybody that is non-white, you should have one strategy. They would never. They know that there's a strategy for the African American community, another one for the Asian community, and another one for the Latino community. And when you put all the diversity together and assuming that they're all the same, first of all, the number one missing community is always Latinos. And second, you're missing uniquenesses from every one of them.
Yeah. You know what I love about that approach is that you're bringing the business, like you said, the business strategic thinking into every part of the business, not just the consumer, which is where the narrative is stuck, right? They spend a lot of money on us so we can go buy their stuff, many companies and businesses, but they're not investing on us because they don't see the strategy. I love that. I think that's the right approach.
And I'm this like nerd annoying person that is going to again add to your point. They're not calling us to consume. If you see the advertising world, you don't see faces like mine. You don't see people with last names like mine. You don't see people that look at diapers, look at Baby Gap, look at yes and no. Yes, they want our money and they're taking it, but they don't invite us into the photo. And that's another very important part, that first of all is missing a lot of the business, but it's also creating invisibility for a whole community should be illegal.
Yeah, I think, look, time and time again, you and I have talked about media being a key area, but just across everywhere, representation matters. And if we're not seeing ourselves, it means that businesses are not recognizing the green.
Exactly. How many people don't? I've done consulting several times to initiatives from nonprofits and from the government, where they're encouraging people to come and sign up for, diabetes medication or for new programs for health, for mental health. And when you have an advertising that doesn't portray somebody that looks like you, most probably people won't be inclined to go sign up. Yeah. So this applies not only to business, but to any initiative where you want Latinos included.
Absolutely. So tell me, how can anybody watching this support your work?
Thank you, because that's really important. First of all, use our information because most of it is good news. The Latinos in Media report has a lot of bad news in the sense that we're invisible because we want to call attention to it. But most of what we do is amazing news about who you are. And going back to what I said about the core of our spirit, this information is amazing just to build our own identity in a way of a community overall, right? We are lucky in the Latino community that we have great identity as cultural Latinos, right? That's a blessing. That's amazing. And we have a lot of things to be really proud of. We have amazing work ethic, family oriented. We are faithful people. We are patriotic. Honestly, we are just amazing. And we know it individually. But what we don't know yet, as well as we should, is as a community. We did a survey, and when we asked Latinos about their own value and about the community value, there was a lot of conviction about self-sufficiency and self-pride individually. But then they would say, well, I don't know, because I don't know a lot of Latinos in the area where I live, or the Latinos that I know, I don't know the numbers. So our numbers are also meant to create this identity as a community. And that goes to my second point of how you can help. We all can help by having a voice, by being as opinionated as I am, but having to speak out, right? Wherever you are, if you're in a soccer game of one of your children, and everybody is non-Latino, speak out, talk about your community, show off, tell them how amazing we are, how we won the World Cup many times, or like several countries within Latin America. And speak out also in decision-making places. And let me tell you why this information about who we are as a community is important. Because it's very different to speak out as Ana Valdez than to speak out as one of the 63 million people that are creating the growth in this country. And when you know who you are, when you know that as a community, we would be the 5th largest economy in the world, not in the country, in the world. If Latinos in the United States were a community, they would be the 5th largest economy in the world, above Canada, Russia, Brazil, anybody except China, India, Germany, and Japan. So my point is, be proud, but be proud of the community that you belong to and speak out for it. Speak out for other Latinos. Speak out for your kids. Speak out for your community overall.
So if there were 2 or 3 points you would want people to walk away with from this conversation, what would those be?
The first one is you're part of a superpowered community. That's what you are. And all the numbers are there, and they're official numbers made by the top research universities and by government, offices that dedicate millions of dollars for it. So you're part of the fastest growing economically community. Number 2 is speak out. Speak out, use your voice. Don't be calladita te ves más bonita, like some of us were raised, right? Yeah. Calladitos no nos vemos más bonitos. Calladitos no more, like my friend Beatriz says. And then 3, help. When you're going to hire somebody, look within your community first. When you're going to support a company, look within your community first. And that doesn't mean you don't do businesses, with other people, but help somebody within the community. That's something that has helped amazing communities that we love and cherish and admire, like the African American community, like the Jewish community, like the gay community. They started those kind of initiatives, and that's one of the many reasons why they are so powerful today. And I think we have to start doing it in our community too.
Yeah, there was a stat, and I don't remember the number, but it's so powerful when you add a diverse candidate to a pool of people you're going to interview. There's a high probability based on skill that that's the candidate that you're going to hire. And many times they're not considered. They're not even in the pool, right? So just at least ensuring that you have Latinos within your pool of candidates.
Exactly.
And then select the best candidate, which, there's a percentage chance that it will be a Latino. But if they're not there, you're not going to hire them. I'm walking away with that 22% of students of engineering. I didn't know that number, and I think that's fantastic.
Absolutely, do that. And to your point, Monica, what you just said, sometimes the best candidate will be the Latino, because the biggest challenge of a Latino is access. So if you give access to a Latino, most probably he'll be excellent.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, last question. How do we follow you? How do we follow the Latino?
Thank you so much. So our website, all of our information is on our website. We distribute it for free. Our incredibly generous board pays for most of it. And because they want you to have it. They want everybody to use it, every American to use it. Go to latinodonorcollaborative.org. We're a nonprofit. We're a think tank. So latinodonorcollaborative.org. And then if you have any questions, please feel free to email me, call me. Info at Latino Donor Collaborative is something that I constantly check. I would say 2 or 3 times a day. I check it. And so please feel free. I'd love to help anybody for it and with it. And thanks for having me, Monica. The work you do is incredible. And I really appreciated being invited here.
Thank you so much. And we need to keep the conversation going, and maybe we'll hopefully be able to, like you said, do more things together.
Exactly. Please, let's do that.
Thank you.